Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are tackling what I consider to be the ultimate paradox of human behavior. It's something that, well, it really keeps me up at night when I look at history, or even my own bank account history.
It's that gap, isn't it? The gap between being intelligent and being rational.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We just assume they're the same thing. We assume that if someone has a huge IQ, a PhD, a great career, they're just immune to being stupid.
Mm.
But then you see that exact person liquidate their life savings to buy some crazy asset at the very, very peak of a bubble.
Or they get completely swept up in some kind of political cult.
Right. Or they make a business decision that anyone from the outside could see was a train wreck just waiting to happen.
It's the smart person, dumb decision problem. And usually we try to explain it away. We say, oh, they were just stressed or, they had a lapse in judgment.
Yeah, lapse.
But today's source material argues that it isn't a lapse, it's a mechanism. It is a predictable, almost structural failure of the human brain.
And we are back with the master of spotting these failures, Charlie Munger. We're pulling from his incredible talk, The Psychology of Human Misjudgment. This is card number 5.
And Munger gives this mechanism a name that sounds, well, it sounds a bit ridiculous.
It does. He calls it the Lollapalooza effect.
The Lollapalooza effect.
I mean, it sounds like a music festival or a cartoon. But when you actually read what he's describing, you realize he's talking about something terrifying. He's describing the psychological version of a nuclear meltdown.
That is the perfect analogy. And I think Munger chose that whimsical name to sort of disarm us.
Right.
Because the concept itself is so heavy. It explains panic, it explains market crashes, it explains how entire societies can just go off the rails.
So the mission for this deep dive is to really look at the mechanics of that disaster. So we need to understand how our psychological tendencies, which are usually, helpful shortcuts, can combine to just destroy our ability to reason.
So let's get into the nuts and bolts. We've spent a lot of time on previous deep dives looking at individual biases. We've talked about social proof doing what the herd does.
We've talked about scarcity, reciprocity.
Yeah.
And usually we study them in isolation, like little specimens in a jar.
Which is how academic psychology usually looks at them too. You get a student in a lab, you run a test on one variable like authority, and you publish a paper. It's all very clean. Very linear.
But Munger's whole point is that the real world is not clean.
Not at all. It's messy. It's a complex, adaptive system. And out there, in the wild, you are never hit by just one bias.
Life doesn't throw one punch at a time. And this brings us right to the core of the card, what Munger calls the nuclear math.
Yes. This is so crucial. Most of our day-to-day thinking is linear. 1 + 1 = 2. If I push a table with a little bit of force, it moves a little. If I push with more force, it moves a little more.
The output is proportional to the input. Simple.
But biological systems and markets, they don't always work like that.
No, they have breaking points.
They have critical mass. Think about a dam holding back water. As the water level rises, the pressure builds linearly, but the result isn't linear. The dam doesn't break a little bit for every extra gallon of water.
Right. It holds, it holds, it holds.
And then boom, it collapses. Total catastrophe.
And Munger is saying the human brain has that same kind of breaking point.
Exactly. He argues you get a Lollapalooza effect when 2, 3, or maybe 4 psychological forces are all pushing in the same direction at the same time.
And when that happens, the math changes.
The math completely changes. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. Munger says it's 1 + 1 = nuclear.
It's a phase change, like water turning into steam. You pile on enough psychological pressure and the brain it stops processing reality and snaps into a totally different mode.
It creates a suspension of critical thinking. You aren't just nudged toward a decision. You are swept away. And the scariest part is you often don't even feel it happening.
You feel like you're being rational.
Completely. But you're actually under a spell. The distinct biases, they fuse together into the single overwhelming force that the logical part of your brain, it just can't resist.
Okay, let's ground this. Because nuclear explosion of the mind is a powerful image, but we need to see the mechanism. And Munger, being Munger, doesn't start with a war or a stock market crash.
No, he starts with something incredibly domestic. He uses the example of the Tupperware party.
Which is a masterclass in psychological manipulation.
It really is.
For anyone who hasn't had the pleasure of attending one of these parties, the setup seems innocent. You go to a friend's house, you have some snacks, you look at some plastic containers.
But Munger says if you look closer, you're actually walking into a trap that's been laid with 3 distinct biases.
And it's important to say the people throwing the parties, they aren't usually evil. They're just trying to make some extra money.
Oh, absolutely. But the system itself, the one designed by the corporation, is ruthless. It is engineered to create a Lollapalooza.
Okay, so let's dismantle the trap. You walk in the door. What is the first arrow that hits you?
The first force is reciprocity. We're just deeply wired, evolutionarily, to return favors. It's the glue that held early human tribes together.
Right. If someone shares their food with you, you feel like you owe them.
Exactly. And in this case, it's not mammoth meat. It's a cracker with some cheese on it and maybe a glass of cheap wine.
But the biological trigger is the same.
It is. You've entered their home. You've accepted their hospitality. And subconsciously, a little ledger opens up in your brain. You are now in debt. You feel this low-level tension that says, I can't just take this and leave.
Okay, so I'm already feeling a bit guilty if I don't buy something, but I can resist that. I'm strong. But then I look around the room.
And that's when force number 2 hits you, social proof. You look around, and what do you see?
Other people.
Other people just like you. And they're filling out order forms. They're excited about the patented seal on the lettuce keeper.
And we are herd animals.
We are primates. For millions of years, if the rest of the troops started running and you didn't, you got eaten by a lion, we have a deep visceral safety check that says, if everyone else is doing it, it must be the right thing to do.
So now reciprocity is pushing me from behind, and social proof is pulling me forward. That's a strong combination.
It is. But Munger says there's a third element that really seals the deal, the nuclear ingredient.
Which is?
Liking. This is the absolute genius of the model. The person selling you this stuff isn't a stranger in a store.
It's your friend. It's your sister-in-law.
It's your neighbor. And that weaponizes your relationship. You like them, you want to see them succeed, and, maybe more importantly, you fear damaging the relationship by saying no.
So now you do the math.
Reciprocity, I owe them. Plus social proof, everyone is buying. Plus liking, I want to support this person.
When those three hit at once.
Your brain's ability to rationally analyze the price-to-value ratio of a plastic bowl completely shuts down.
You literally cannot think about the bowl anymore. The bowl becomes irrelevant. You are buying relief from the social pressure.
Precisely. You are buying the silence of those 3 biases screaming at you. And that is a micro-Lollapalooza. It results in a cluttered kitchen cabinet, a lighter wallet. It's annoying, but it's not fatal.
But, and this is the pivot, this mechanism, it doesn't just stay in the living room. Munger's warning isn't really about Tupperware.
No, it's about when the same nuclear math gets applied to things that actually matter, like our life savings.
That's where the Lollapalooza effect goes from a curiosity to an absolute destroyer of wealth.
You have to talk about market bubbles.
Because a bubble is basically a Tupperware party on a global scale, just with much higher stakes and slightly different ingredients.
It's funny because we look back at bubbles, the dot-com crash, the 2008 housing crisis, crypto spikes, and we laugh. We say, what were they thinking? Buying a pet food website with no revenue for billions of dollars. But in the moment, it felt totally rational to the people who were doing it. It felt hyper-rational. And that's because they were under the spell.
So let's break down the bubble Lollapalooza.
Yeah.
It usually starts with a little seed of truth, but then the biases just pile on. You have social proof, obviously.
Yeah.
That's the engine.
Right. You see the herd moving, you check your phone, the news, and everyone is talking about this one stock, this one asset. The price chart is going vertical.
The herd is running, so your brain says, run with them.
But then you add a second force, which is like an accelerant, scarcity, or as we call it now, FOMO. Fear of missing out.
This is a powerful stressor. It's that feeling that the door is closing.
And biologically, scarcity is a panic signal. The food is running out. The water is drying up. When we perceive that kind of scarcity, this stock is moving so fast I'll never get in at this price again, our brain shifts into a fight or flight mode.
It narrows our focus.
Completely, we stop looking for the downsides, we stop doing research, and we only look for the buy button.
So we have the herd, which is social proof, and the panic, which is scarcity. But Munger always points to a third bias in bubbles. It's the ugly one people don't like to admit to.
Envy.
Envy.
Munger famously said, it is not greed that drives the world, but envy. Greed is just wanting more. Envy is wanting what they have, and that's painful.
It's looking at your neighbor, who you know is not as smart as you are, and seeing them get rich, seemingly overnight, for doing nothing.
That pain is intolerable to the human ego. My idiot cousin bought that crypto coin and made a fortune. I'm the smart one here. I deserve that.
And when envy joins the party,
It shuts down the last little bit of caution you might have had. You stop caring about fundamentals. You just want to stop the pain of seeing other people get ahead of you.
so let's run that equation again. Social proof, Everyone's doing it. Plus scarcity, it's going fast. Plus envy, I hate that they're winning and I'm not.
That is a nuclear cocktail. That is the Lollapalooza. And when that hits, you get 180 IQ hedge fund managers buying at the absolute top.
You get mass delusion.
Yeah.
People start inventing new stories to justify the madness. This time it's different. It's a new paradigm.
And those aren't reasons. They're rationalizations from a brain that's been completely hijacked.
It really is a spell. I think that word is perfect. You are sleepwalking right into a disaster.
You are. And the problem is, you usually don't wake up until the bubble pops. That's when the biases suddenly decouple. The social proof vanishes because now everyone is selling.
The envy vanishes because now everyone is losing money.
And suddenly you're just left there holding the bag wondering what on earth possessed you.
So this is the gloomy part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
We've established our brains are basically wired to malfunction when these forces combine. Is there any hope? Or are we just doomed to repeat these cycles forever?
We aren't doomed, but we do have to be realistic. You can't cure yourself of these biases. You can't just decide not to be human.
Right.
But Munger and the source material do offer a defense mechanism. It's a tool I like to call the FOMO break.
I love a good tool.
Ugh.
How does the FOMO break work?
It starts with recognizing the physical sensation of the Lollapalooza. We all know what it feels like. The heart rate goes up, the obsession, that feeling that you must act right now.
Urgency. Urgency is the red flag.
Urgency is the enemy of rationality. So the moment you feel that urgency, you have to hit the brake. And then you run a checklist. You have to literally count the biases acting on you.
Like a pilot going through a pre-flight check.
Exactly. You stop and you ask yourself, why am I buying this? Is it because the herd is buying? Check. That's one.
Okay.
Is it because I'm afraid of missing out? Check. That's two. Is it because I'm jealous of my neighbor? Check. That's three.
And what's the rule?
The rule is this. If the count is greater than 2, you must wait 24 hours.
That's it. Just wait.
It sounds too simple, but it is incredibly profound. If the count is high, you are under the spell, you are mentally intoxicated, you wouldn't sign a mortgage contract while you were drunk, right?
Of course not.
And you shouldn't make big investment decisions while you are high on a Lollapalooza cocktail.
The 24-hour rule, it forces the biology to reset.
It does. The cortisol levels drop, the dopamine rush fades. And if it is a genuinely good investment, if the fundamentals are actually there, it will still be a good investment tomorrow. The only thing that evaporates in 24 hours is the panic.
It's the difference between reacting and thinking. And in a world that is constantly trying to hack our brains with countdown timers and trending now notifications, that pause is probably the most valuable asset we have.
I would argue that in today's information economy, the ability to just sit still and do nothing for a day is a superpower. It is the ultimate competitive advantage. While everyone else is getting swept away by the current, you're standing on the shore just watching.
And that leads to a really interesting realization. If you can use this FOMO break, if you can spot the Lollapalooza effect and step back, you don't just avoid losing money. You start seeing the world in a different way.
You do. You start seeing these clusters of biases everywhere. In marketing campaigns, political rallies, corporate boardrooms, it's like putting on a pair of X-ray glasses. You see the manipulation.
And more importantly, you see the opportunity. Because eventually, every Lollapalooza ends. The bubble always pops, the herd panics and runs in the other direction.
And that's the great irony. The Lollapalooza works in reverse, too. When the crash happens, you get social proof everyone's selling, plus fear, the scarcity of safety. People sell irrationally low for the same reasons they bought irrationally high.
And if you're the one person who isn't under that spell, that is when you strike.
That is the moment. But it is not easy. It takes a different kind of strength. It's one thing to stand still when everyone is dancing. It's much harder to run into a burning building when everyone else is running out.
Surviving the bubble is just step one. Knowing how to capitalize on the wreckage, that's a whole different skill set.
It requires a major shift from caution to aggression.
Which is exactly where we are going next. When bubbles pop, rare opportunities appear. But you need courage to act. We discussed this in episode 6, Betting Heavy.